So for anyone listening to this is Conversations, and as every single week we've put out, I believe this is episode 96, which is super cool. This is Conversations. Greg and I, we're both in ministry. We both love Jesus. We both love the concepts and the topics around ministry and Jesus. But really, my goal in every single episode is to help any of you listeners or watching on YouTube this concept of conversations. I believe in the church, especially, we need to have more conversations as ministry leaders, as pastors. This concept started in 2020 when everybody had opinions, everybody had monologues, especially in church. And it was like, man, how do I create a space for pastors to just have a conversation around whatever they're passionate about? So we've had professional athletes, we've had a lot of different people, but Greg, I'm so excited to have you on.
Yeah, Josh, glad to be part of this. It's awesome, man.
It's going to be fun. So for anyone listening, maybe Greg, just give us a little bit of rundown of who you are, what you're passionate about, what you're focusing on in the last couple of years.
Yeah, I was raised in Denver, raised in a fatherless home. Loving my dad lived in a very violent home. My family were all my uncles were like, the sons of anarchy, bodybuilders, street fighters. I was like young Sheldon in the hood, dirty, terrified little kid. A hillbilly preacher reached my whole family with the gospel and trained me to share my faith. And so planted a church and ultimately now started Dare to Share a year and a half later. And after the Columbine High School shooting, resigned from the church to do Dare to Share full time. Then, mobilizing millions of teenagers from Lincoln, Nebraska to Nigeria, all around the world now, sharing the gospel and write books. I wrote a book, my memoirs called Unlikely Fighter, and it's a story of my upbringing, my crazy upbringing, and I'm coming out with a new book in August called Radical Like Jesus.
Wow.
21 challenges to live a revolutionary life. So
that's so incredible.
Yeah,
well, we're going to have to link that specific book in the description for sure. Anyone listening to this, we're going to have to pre-order that book. That's going to be incredible. Tell me a little bit about that. Like what instigated that thought, or how did you start writing about that specific topic?
And this because you went to Dare to Share as a student. You don't just talk about it, we go do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so many Christians, let me just talk about it. We have a meeting about a meeting. Let's let a big meeting so we have a great meeting. And then we have a small meeting to talk about like a big meeting, right? So it's moving to a better meeting. And the goal is not just to exegete the text, the goal is to execute the mission. And so I wanted to write a book that we wouldn't just read about Jesus and his fasting and his prayer and his caring for others and his evangelism and his disciple making, but that we would do it. So at the end of every chapter, it really is a 21 snapshot for the life of Christ from the time he was 12 to the time he sent his disciples out on the Great Commission. There's a radical like Jesus challenge at the end of every chapter that you take before you read the next chapter. And some are easy and some are difficult. And it's all, the goal is to activate our faith and not just talk about it.
Yeah.
Because we do a lot of blah.
We do a lot of talking for sure. And that's really, yeah. I mean, preaching a message is pretty easy at this point, but living it, I think that's where the rubber hits the road, especially as believers and pastors and leaders in the church. So
sure,
I love that so much. For you, like what instigated, I'm assuming, your upbringing and this concept of, your radical transformation with Jesus, like what started that whole heart for Dare to Share? Because obviously now, like you said, there's millions of people. Like I really, like, that was the first initiation for me to like, man, I really need to share my faith. I need to really go out but also not be the guy that nobody actually wants to listen to. Like I could actually help people want to hear me. Like I can't just scream at them and they're not going to find Jesus.
That's not an effective strategy.
No.
I love the title for this podcast, Conversation. So the goal is you want to train Christians, and I especially train teens, to have gospel conversations, not just to make a presentation.
Yes.
And so, and what started with me is because my whole family was reached by this hillbilly pastor that, on a dare actually reached out to my toughest uncle, who had spent time in jail for choking two cops unconscious at the same time.
Wow.
But after a 5-minute conversation, as preacher said, does that make sense? My Uncle Jack said, hell yeah. He trusted Christ and it changed everything. Began a domino effect through my family. So Yankee had a youth ministry with 800 teenagers in it and only 300 adults in the church. She believed the fastest way to reach the city was to the youth. And so I became a part of it, got equipped to share my faith. And then the vision is, okay, why don't we help other churches? And
Yeah.
so that vision of Dare to Share really started, when I was, even a preteen, 11, 12 years old.
Wow.
Wasn't thinking about Dare to Share, but I was thinking, man, if we could train others how to do this, then we could reach the world.
Yeah. Well, I love that so much, and I love that even what you talked about the world. Like for you, the globalization of the gospel. Like it's obviously local, but it's also global. Like there are people across the world who need to find it. For you, two things. One, how has it evolved? Because 2024, obviously the message is the same, but I'm assuming the methods have changed over time. And on that, like what for you have you seen that global that you wish we would know as the American church, or what would we apply right now?
Well, so I'll just give you an example. So we used to do the big arena events. We've been doing Persian Arena, 6,000 teenagers, Dream Crit Mobilizing. I thought I was going to be doing those to the day that I died. And we began to realize you can only reach a certain amount of teenagers that way. You can't scale that. And, people say, well, you could just, simulcast that. I'm like, nobody wants to watch 6,000 teenagers in their room at a party they're not at, right?
Right, for sure.
So we started a thing called Dare to Share Live, which now is on demand. We film it in the studio with the top youth speakers across the U.S. and, that are all in on gospel advancement. And we, go right into the youth. And so instead of training tens of thousands, we train thousands of tens. And then they go out in their own community, share Christ. Really cool. Dare to Share Live.org. And it's free now.
That's incredible.
Made it accessible. So, we had 3,000 teenagers in Nigeria trained, equipped, and mobilized. Nigeria is one of the highest persecution countries in the world. And they're out sharing the gospel. And they asked the guy who leads it, Steve Bogler, one day he said, he choose what you fear. He goes, you either fear the one who can kill your body and soul in hell, or just fear the one who can just kill your body. He said, God, don't fear me. I'm like, oh my goodness. These are beasts.
Yes.
And I love it. So that stuff happened in English and Spanish all over the world. And then I think the other thing is, we've really shifted to an app approach. So we have an app called Life in 6 Words that if you can swipe and read, we can share the gospel using your phone. Literally just swipe through that gospel across on the phone. You ask somebody, how would you describe your life in 6 words? They choose 6 out of 14. You ask them why they chose those words. You hear their story. Then you say, can I share with you my story? And you use your words and then take them to the gospel across. Simple.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm hearing you say is it's all about simplicity and getting it in people's hands. Like for you guys, turning it into the online system or an app and making it as simple as possible. And again, that I'm assuming that has evolved because, again, you have like the Romans road and you have the concepts of theology and being so scared that I'm going to get it wrong. And it's like for you, maybe to speak to, because there are a lot of young people listening to this, like how do we practically go, hey, it's okay. Obviously the blood of the lamb and word of testimony to share your story. So maybe encourage them like, hey, just start today. You don't have to have the message figured out. You don't have to practice your preaching skills. To share Jesus.
Well, what you want to do is just, at the end of the day, we want to renew the cause, right? Christ died in our place for our sin, but faith in him, you eternal life. And it's not, what I would give you is 3 words to start any conversation. Ask, admire, admit. So ask questions. Be interested in that. Find out what they believe and admire what you can. We talk about Muslims, and then you guys pray 5 times a day. That's to be commended. Talk to a Mormon, many of you guys are on mission, way to go, committed to your cause. Talk to whoever. Find what you can admire. That doesn't mean you agree with everything, but when you find it, it's just a sliver that you can use as a breeze, right? And then admit the reason we're a Christian is you're desperately sinful and needed Jesus to save you. Share your story, and then share the gospel. And again, take it to the cross and dare to share. We have, as you know, we have a gospel acrostic that lays it out. And I'd encourage you to memorize. We could put that in the show notes, but it's GOSPEL. God created us to be with him. O is our sin separated us from God. S as sins cannot be removed by good deeds. P is paying the price for sin. Jesus died and rose again. E is everyone who trusts in him alone has eternal life. And L is life with Jesus starts now and lasts forever. memorize it, and then you have a kind of a mental outline to take people through that tells all the story of the gospel. And on our app, we have that, a version of that in 21 different languages. So it's kind of cool if you're talking
Wow.
some Spanish, you can
Yeah.
flip it, or Ethiopian or whatever.
It's so incredible. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
we'll put the app, we'll put the gospel, we'll put it all down there. And anyone listening to this, feel free to take it all and use it because we believe in the message. I actually do want to switch side of coin here. You
sure.
obviously you lead an organization. Like it's
Yeah.
not you're not building an app like just yourself. You're not
No.
filming all this stuff together. Like on that side of it, how has that evolved? Because obviously you had something in your heart.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at decades later, you're going, man, I'm leading people, I'm leading an organization.
Yeah.
I can't reach everybody, but I can mobilize people to reach people. Like, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. You got about 30 people at Board of Share that are on staff. They don't raise their support, so we hire them and go
Mhm.
through that process. We have a president. Her name's Debbie Bassina. She's been with the mission for 30 years. So, it's funny because my son, I'll give you this plan. When he was 13, he's like, Dad, I want to go hunting, but you don't know anything about hunting. And I said, Jeremy, you got to either be the man or know the man. And I know the man. His name is Donnie Cox. So I called Donnie. He took us out hunting, and there you go. That's my same philosophy. It's like, you got to be the person and know the person. And so, Debbie Brasina, okay, it's a great leader. She was volunteering part-time, then full-time, then president, right? So you find the right people and you put them in the right place, and you make mistakes along the way, but you pray and measure
Mhm.
twice and you count once, and build a staff culture that people love to come into work every day and get a lot done.
Yeah.
And you teach, I think one of the things what I've seen with Gen Z, a lot of people complain about Gen Z as workers. And I'm like, once Gen Z learns how to work, because a lot of young people coming into a ministry, they just don't know how. It's not like,
Mhm.
what does a full day look like? Right. But they work smart,
Mhm.
right? I find that the Gen Z, and you combine working smart and working hard,
Yeah.
and you got progress. And so we have a lot of young people around here at Dare to Share that work hard and work smart, and it's kind of fun. You have to coach
Yes.
sometimes, but yeah, well, it's great. We have a great staff, great team.
What have you learned? I asked this yesterday. I had somebody on the podcast, and they're leading a local church in San Diego, very innovative church. They're reaching their city super well. But he's a lead pastor, and for you, like, what have you learned about yourself as you've been building an organization over the years?
Well, I feel like what I've learned myself is my primary job is kind of the torch bearer for the
Mhm.
vision
Yep.
and the guardian of theology and philosophy. That I have to keep that vision out in front of everybody. Here's what our vision here shares every team everywhere. The gospel from the sun. There's 1 billion teams in the world. If we line them up in a single file line, that line will go around the world 7.5 times.
Wow.
And that line is steadily moving, and those chains of Babylon off a cliff into a hell that they need rescued from. And so, how do we get there? We energize the church by energize the church to mobilize you to gospelize our world. See, I'm always banging that gong. I do it with our staff. If I'm in a partner meeting, I do it there. If I'm in the youth ministry executive council, I don't forget, here's what we're called to do. So
Yeah.
I think
I
my
love it.
job is to, that, and then, cast the vision of donors,
Mhm.
get fuel for the rocket ship along the
Absolutely.
way.
Well, I love it.
Yeah.
It's so practical. Even like I did an episode last week, so random, but Mark Zuckerberg had 10 rules when it came to the startup of Facebook, and their number one thing on their list, on the board, on the wall, was 1 billion users. So
Yeah.
every single thing they did, every single question, every single meeting was like, all right, well, is this going to help us find and build and acquire 1 billion users? So I love that so much. It's like, have one target, have one goal, and let's dominate that together. But like you said, just for anyone listening to this, like, you can't just say a vision once. One, you're going to have new people coming in. You're going to have new team coming in, hopefully anyways, if you're doing something right. And the other side of it, people forget. We're innately designed to forget things for some reason, but we gotta be constantly reminded. So
Did you ever see the movie Waterboy?
yes.
So remember Tackling Fuel?
Yep.
need to get that tackling fuel. You got to picture that thing in your mind.
Yep.
And we need tackling fuel. It
Yeah.
gets, ministry, you can get into the grind and get discouraged easily. So that tackling fuel is remembering that vision, but also telling stories along the way. Look what this teenager was saying, this teenager. Look at this youth leaders now lead pastors, leading the whole way with gospel advancing philosophy in their church. So
I love
that's
it.
kind of what we do.
I love the water boy, and I love that example. So I love
Perfect.
that a ton.
Perfect.
Perfect. All right, so I do want to switch a little bit. So the local church, I believe we need to reach every single human being, and I believe God's vehicle is the local church. So how do we empower people? One, I've seen it a lot. I've actually had people on the podcast talking about this concept of the social media evangelists, and man, I'm just doing my own thing. I'm the guy, and it's like I love that a ton. I love that you're reaching people, but man, how important is it, one, to be submitted to a local church, submitted to a board, submitted to a pastor, submitted to a group of people, a local vision? So for you, how do we help people who do have global vision find the local vision as well?
Well, the church is God's plan A. There's no plan B. Jesus never said, I will build my 501c3 nonprofit organization. Said, I would build my church. So everything we do goes to and through the local church. It's, it's what I call wrapping my spider web around that iron cable. So iron cable is the local church.
Yeah.
And Dare shares a little spider web. We're trying to really help strengthen that local church. And we're strong in the process.
Yeah.
And so, I feel like, if you're some rogue TikToker that, is your own spiritual authority, and you need to TikTok your way through the New Testament and read 1 Timothy 3 and Titus 1 about the importance of elders that you submit yourself to, and about the importance of, church authority in your life. And, if you don't have that going, it says Hebrews 10, 24 and 25, says, do not forsake the assembling of yourselves together as men of some is, but encourage one another all the margins of the day approaching. But then a lot of people disconnected from the next verse. It says, if we sin willfully after receiving the knowledge of the truth, there no longer needs to sacrifice for sin, but a certain fiery judgment that will validate the adversaries of God. He said, if you stop going to church consistently and you're not part of that, then you're sinning willfully and you're in danger. Not of going to hell, but of going through hell from the Heavenly Father. So, careful.
Be careful. For anyone who doesn't follow Greg on Twitter, I would highly submit to you right now to give him a good follow. His tweets are very fire, even like what he just said. I love it. Oh yeah, the local church is the hope of the world. We got to be a part of the local church. It is imperative.
I'm part of a local church.
Yeah.
I started going to a church called Storyline. JT English is the pastor there. Wrote a book called We Are Theologian with Jennifer Welton, great book. I basically said, hey, I need a church that I'm personally submitted to.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what's so beautiful is, one, thank you for modeling it. Two, for anyone listening to this, Greg leads a massive organization that's reaching millions of people, still submitted to a house, still going on Sundays, sitting there worshiping.
When I'm not
and participating. Yeah. Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother conversation too, of the concept of, man, I've had people traveling, itinerant preachers, people are traveling all the time. How have you made sure to balance, yes, I'm a traveling preacher, but I'm also a husband. I'm also a son. I'm also a brother. I'm also a cousin. How have you, or what have you put in place to make sure that your priorities remain the right way?
Yeah, so I started poorly. 3 weeks after I got married, I went on a 3-week tour of India. I drove 56 times in 18 days.
Wow.
This is before cell phones. This is 33 years ago. So I was faxing.
Oh my goodness.
To my wife because I couldn't afford to call.
Right.
What I determined early on is we're going to have a yearly vacation. When we could afford it, and when we couldn't afford it early on, I went through timeshare presentations so we could get 3 days and 2 nights for free
Yep.
Places. We will do vacations for less than $500.
Mm-hmm.
We just do something to get away and be with ourselves. And then we take mini vacations. We did in Colorado, which is an
Mm-hmm.
awesome place. So, it's just hikes and, food. When we had kids, I told my kids, I'm going to be gone a lot, but I'm going to give you an unforgettable childhood because each of you can pick food trips a year and I'm going to take you.
Mm-hmm.
And so my kids, it's all across the U.S., seeing the world. They're both serving, it's not, that's the best, but they're both serving the world now, they'll show me. And they're not bitter about their childhoods. They look back and like, man, we had so much fun.
Yeah.
And so, and then I think, just keeping your disciplines. Like, I have a physical routine and I, get up 5 a.m, a spiritual routine with the Lord, physical routine. And even when I travel, we go on the gym in a couple of weeks. Sometimes I have to truncate it, but I do it.
Yep.
Very rarely. So I keep those rhythms of rest and then rhythms of, exercise and spiritual disciplines.
Yeah.
I've never had a sabbatical.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I'm against them. It's just never. I don't think I've ever needed a sabbatical because I take it's something consistent. I think some people have to take sabbaticals because they've not honored the Sabbath and they're just exhausted.
Yeah. Do you have a rhythm around your Sabbath, or are you pretty open to whatever kind of happens?
We just, my family, we party,
hang out, have fun.
We live right by a lake, do a lot of hiking. We do crazy stuff. We have, we just wherever we go, it's called the Stier Family Vacation, Forest Family Fun. We beat the tar out of places. Come back more. I don't know. It's sad. We come back more exhausted from that vacation.
Hey, that's okay. You party hard in a good way. I love it.
That's right.
For the last couple minutes here, what I'd really love to talk about is, man, what can we submit to? Because I would venture to say over 80% of the people listening to this, and it's in like 50 different countries, are around this concept of being a ministry leader, being a pastor, volunteering in your church, leading a team. Like, what are a couple things that you would submit to them that is imperative? Sure, it might be around their family, it might be around what you just said, Sabbath, it even might be around this concept of evangelism in 2024.
Yeah.
Like, what are some things that we can take a hold of and actually apply?
Well, I think, a couple different things. One is, really stay rooted in the Lord. Prayer. Prayer is not a big part of your schedule. The apostles devoted themselves to prayer and the ministry of the word. And oftentimes we devote ourselves to the ministry of the word, but not prayer. We just put it like holy water. I try to go on prayer walks every day where I'm just praying through, the worst, and praying through people and for ministry and worshiping God, confessing sin. I think really there's a great book you can get online as a free download, I think, With Christ in the School of Prayer by Enzo Murray. Old school book written 152 years ago. It's a great book. Better than any of this stuff. But really keep prayer, keep rooted in the word. Keep the family close, watch out. So many times in ministry we say, well, I keep the Modesto Manifesto, I won't eat with the woman alone or be in a car or whatever the person from the opposite side. I'm like, that's fine. But lust will pick a lock. So if you are not daily in the word, if you're not close to your spouse, it doesn't matter what rules you have, the lust will find a way to pick that lock. Then I would say, share Christ as much as you can. It's my prayer every day. Lord, give me an opportunity to share the gospel every day. And more often than not, God answers that prayer. And if you want to lead the revolution, you got to be the revolution. So if you're not making disciples and sharing the gospel with people, then how can you ask for people?
Yeah.
So do it.
It's so good.
Get out of the office.
Yes. Get out of the office. And this whole concept, we're planting a church. We have a great, effective, healthy team right now, doing startup parties and team gatherings and all these things. And what I love is, one, it's like, man, we're not cooped up in an office. Like, even if someday we're going to rent a venue, but I'm like, this concept of having an office and all of our teams, if I see them in there 5 days a week, I'm like, we're not doing our job. We need to be out. If you're a youth pastor, be in your schools. If you're a Doesn't matter. Just get out.
Or if you got to study, go to Starbucks and study
Yeah.
and have
Yeah.
a conversation with somebody like that. You
Yeah.
know?
100%. Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
make yourself available.
Yeah, and really equipping people to share the gospel. You know, we're equipping them in so many different ways. But oftentimes we don't train them how to share the gospel. And if you're a pastor, a church leader, and we're depending on come and see, let me just tell you, for every one that will come and see your church, there are 99 involved. So my question is, who will reach the 99?
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be your people reaching their sphere of influence. And to do that, you have to have training.
Yes.
And that's, go like me and Neeson and take it at the share. We have a very particular set of skills. So we can help you with that. We even have a 5-minute crash course in Evangelism on YouTube. You can watch and get the basic training and go for it. Whatever you do, go for it. You need training.
Yes, 100%. I think I said at the beginning of this episode, but I attended Dare to Share probably 4 years in a row, like late middle school, early high school. Really got me into this concept of boldness. Like I was always I was pretty confident, pretty direct, kind of an aggressive personality. But man, you get that little card and you're 17 and I got to go walk up to a college kid and people are cussing at you and it's like, what am I doing? And it's like the guy's got his headphones in. I don't want to talk to him, but it creates this concept, one, of boldness, and two, a confidence of, man, I believe in this message so much so that you should hear it. And again, maybe it doesn't look like going up and yelling at a college kid or doing something. I actually remember this. This is a funny story here. I'm from Iowa. We obviously did it in Lincoln the one year. And at one of the days, they wanted to give us a tour of the Nebraska Cornhuskers football stadium. And we're all a group as a church. And I'm like, I can't go in there. I'm sorry. I respect you, but I'll be outside. So I just kind of sat in the curb. I was like, I'm not going. I can't. I'm an Iowa Hawkeyes fan. I would be disowning my family. So I can't do that. But Greg, it was so much fun having you on. Seriously, it's so fun to connect. And like I said at the beginning, it's kind of a funny full circle for me of like, I remember hearing you and Zane Black talk as a little kid. I'm like, these guys are the coolest guys.
That's so fun.
I didn't grow up in the church at all, so I had like no concept of pastors, of leaders, of nothing. Like, I just think that's honestly, I tell people that's kind of how I got into ministry. I just thought my youth pastor was super cool, and I wanted to be like him when I grew up. It wasn't this like crazy nightmare dream that I had that God woke me up and told me I was going to be a pastor. It was like, I just think my youth pastor is cool, and I kind of want to be like him when I grow up. So
that's awesome.
Thank you so much for.
I still travel with Zane.
Let's go.
By the way, Zane's still at it, man.
Zane is the man.
He is the man.
I appreciate you both. I appreciate and I value Dare to Share so much. Seriously, honor everything you guys have done over the years. It's just been so cool and fun, and I'm believing that. And the best is still so much far ahead of Dare to Share, and for you as well.
Josh, thank you so much, and God bless you in your church plant and in your podcast, and God bless everybody listening to this right now.
Man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.